I'm starting with the only English gardens in my entire round-the-world journey. I've chosen them because although they are very different, I think they represent the very best of British gardens. In fact, both are amongst the very best in the world. The first is Rousham in Oxfordshire. Rousham, designed by William Kent, is astonishingly little known or visited, yet I think it's the best landscape garden in the country. In 1737, Kent, then better known as an architect, was hired by the owner, General Dormer, to make modifications to the house at Rousham and to revamp the garden.
In the drawing room of the house is this plan of the garden. We don't know who drew it, but we know that it was drawn up round about the time of Kent's death in the 1750s. And it shows the layout as Kent intended it, and it also shows it almost exactly as it is today. It's hardly changed at all. And the head gardener at the time that this was drawn up, McCleary, used to take people round down here, down this path, and then round down there, and then back up that avenue and along the bottom. And that's the route that I'm going to take. Kent's radical contribution to garden design was to include the landscape as part of the picture. Up till then, gardens had tried to be refuges from what was seen as a potentially hostile world around them. And here at Rousham, he deliberately sculpted the land with this beautiful curve down to the river, didn't obscure that, and then the field and the meadow below, and the cattle grazing which were meant to be seen. The road left unobscured so they could see droves of cattle going across. And then there are two buildings out there, one which was a cottage, which he reshaped to look as though it might just be a castle. And the eye catcher on the horizon, totally false. It's just a wall.
This was revolutionary. For the first time, a very English rural view was included as an integral part of the garden. I find William Kent a fascinating character. He was certainly no gardener. We know that he avoided visiting the site as far as he could and was notoriously careless on details of construction. He seems to have been a semi-literate, drunken Yorkshireman with a knack of schmoozing the aristocracy. But I think he was also, on the evidence of his work here and at Stowe, touched with true greatness.
This route takes you through the woods and down here into what is known as the Vale of Venus. That's obviously a beautiful, beautiful piece of landscaping. But for Kent, it was much, much more than that, because it's full of allegories and references. Some of them architectural, like the shape of the cascade had Italian references that only people who had been on the Grand Tour would have known. And there's Venus herself, who is the goddess of gardens. And the few hundred people that would have come here would have known all that. They would have understood it. It was a sort of kind of theme park in the way that we go and we know about Disney, we know about the films, and we pick up the references. And of course, for most people now, there's none of that. It doesn't mean anything beyond its beauty. Now, I think that's fine. I think the beauty is enough, but there is one extra bonus that we get that they don't, and of course, that's the maturity. Now, I think on a rainy, overcast day in June, this is as beautiful as practically anything I've ever seen in the world. And complete genius to take water and formalize it, and yet keep it sinuous, with the understory of the laurel and the box clipped, but massive in conception and in scale. The balance, the light, the simplicity. Made in 1740, I tell you, it's as modern as anything I've seen.
Some of the layout of Rousham can be credited to Kent's contemporary, the royal gardener, Charles Bridgman, who laid out designs here some 20 years earlier. In Bridgman's design, this natural stream was allowed to run free, but it was Kent's inspiration to formalise it and to add the octagonal cold bath. And like much in this garden, Kent's brilliance was to stimulate the senses as well as the mind.
What this garden has, more than any other garden I've ever seen, is a sort of perfect greenness. The use of green and the layers of it and the layers of light that filter through the green, just sublime. Now this arcade of the Temple of Praeneste, as Kent called it, has alcoves and niches. And originally there was a statue in each of the niches and a seat in each of these alcoves. The idea being, of course, that the visitor could sit and take in yet another fabulous view. And what you get from all these views, and in fact all these scenes, is that it's a theatre. The garden is like a stage set waiting for the actors to come. And of course, you, the visitor, are the actors. And then the whole thing suddenly becomes alive and is made complete.
Rousham is my favourite garden in England. And this visit has reinforced the fact that it is a staggering work. I think Kent was a genius, a true genius, and he's right at the top of his art here. And it makes it one of the great gardens of the world. And it uses practically just one colour and some very simple ideas. And it proves the old adage, it's not really what you do, but how you do it that matters. And also reinforces to me that to a degree, over the last 150, 200 years, British gardens have been hijacked by flowers. We're obsessed by plants and their variety and their colour and how to grow them. And we sort of lost the big picture. We've lost this sense of a big idea expressed with panache and very simply. And if you want to find that again, well, you can do no better than come to Rousham. It's a wrench to leave, but I must move on.